Good morning. I'd like to start off with a land acknowledgement. It's a great honor to be asked to acknowledge this land and the peoples of this land. This morning, I'm situated on the traditional territory of Treaty 6, and we stand upon a land that carries with it the footsteps and hearts of many, many First Nations people, Metis people, Inuit people, who have been here for thousands of years and many generations. I'd like to acknowledge our and their relationship with Mother Earth. It's an interconnected relationship, and we are all treaty people, and we have an obligation to respect that this land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced us. And we are grateful to the Indigenous people that have been stewards of this interconnected relationship. We're all treaty people, and as such, we need to respect each other and our beliefs, but also our own individual relationships with Mother Earth. So from my heart and spirit to yours. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Vandenberghe, and I am an industrial professor here at the Faculty of Engineering, as well as the Assistant Dean of Outreach. I am of Dene Ta descent, and I am a 60s scoop survivor. So what that means is I was adopted at a very young age by a very inclusive German family, and I was raised on a farm in northern Alberta, so north of Grand Prairie. I decided to go to university, even though a lot of people chose to go into the trades and work in their family business or become farmers. And I took a chemical engineering degree. I am a person who likes options, and so I took as many options as I could, thinking it could give me quite a bit of exposure. And I knew through exposure, I'd be able to figure out what fits for me. And so I did not only a chemical engineering degree, I took the computer process control option, which is studying instrumentation and how instrumentation works and how we can use that to learn more data and information about a process, as well as the CoOp program. And so for my CoOp work terms, I tried to try as many jobs and industries as I could as well. And so I did nuclear research out in Manitoba, Pinawa, Manitoba. And I did some work for pulp and paper in the Slave Lake region. I did petrochemical work with Dow Chemical in Fort Saskatchewan. And then I also did work for Syncrude in the oil sands mines for a couple of work terms. And so I tried many different jobs, from reliability engineering, checking tanks and maintenance and checking equipment, to production planning in the extraction plants, to computer process control, programming alarm systems, and studying instrumentation and the results of that. And so for me, from those CoOp work experiences, I found that research fit me very well, because I like my freedom to create, and I like the ability to contribute to the world of knowledge. And so that led me to a joint degree between chemical and mining engineering, and a master's program specific to the oil sands. And from there, I was hired into the oil sands industry, where I worked as a senior research engineer. I worked on quite a few different processes and have a number of patents to my name, and I'm very proud of that. So the reason I chose research is that it has allowed me to still involve my creative thinking in that process. And so the oil sands research I chose because I knew oil sands was an industry that would allow me to stay in my home province here of Alberta, as well as it was a growing industry. And I knew I could contribute to making processes more efficient, helping on the environmental side, helping on the water side, helping in different ways to make that whole industry safer and healthier for not only the people working in the plants, but the surrounding communities long into the future. So my career shifted from wanting to contribute to the world of knowledge to contributing to people when I had two beautiful children. They changed my mindset about a lot of things. I didn't want to give up on my engineering background though, so I was looking for a place to go where I could be paid for the things I'm passionate about, the equity, diversity, inclusion pieces, and can still contribute to the engineering world. And so that led me to APEGA, which is the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Alberta. From there, I felt a calling again to contribute to communities. And so community to me is extremely important. And so I felt a calling to work with Indigenous communities after working with APEGA. And so I went to work as an independent community consultant for an engineering infrastructure consulting firm. And so I worked with First Nations and Metis settlements and Métis nations to develop relationships and find out where they had need, help them to find funding and consultants and project managers and contractors that would do those projects for them. And so that work was extremely meaningful. And for me, finding something that I'm passionate about and meaningful is an important part of my career. So science literacy. Science literacy means being able to talk to other science and technical folks in a language that you both understand. And so for me, math is the universal language. 2 + 2 is 4 here in Edmonton. It's 4 in Australia, it's 4 on the moon, it's 4 on Mars. And so the language of math is an important foundation to science literacy. Of course, everybody has their own language. And so in the oil sands, we would talk about the chemicals and the emulsifiers that we use, to different jargon used for pipelines, elbows, and things like that, and pieces of equipment. So science literacy is learning the language of the industry and job that you're in order to describe whatever phenomenon it is that you're working with and trying to understand. So I do really like to read as well. And so I've always been a fantasy sci-fi reader since I was little. Growing up in rural Alberta, and I grew up in the 80s recession, so we didn't have a whole lot of money. So travel was not very often. And so I would escape through books. And so I love reading books of dragons and magic and places far off and places of positivity and possibility, and thinking through. It helped me believe and develop a positive, optimistic attitude in my mind. So one thing that I have grown to observe and have been interested in is biodiversity, or rather how I term it in my head is interconnectedness. And so as an engineer, especially a chemical engineer, we deal a lot in mass and energy balances and momentum balances. And so we know that everything has a mass and everything has an energy, and how that energy interacts not only with itself, but with other things is a lot of what chemical engineers do. And so the idea of interconnectedness is one that's also that I find in my spiritual journey as well. Learning more about Indigenous culture and my heritage is an important one too. That we as people have energy. The animals have energy, the plants have energy, the earth and the soil has energy, the air has energy, the water has energy. And being conscious that these energies of each of these individual things affect others. And so the impact of our decisions, the impact of the things that we do cause a ripple effect, not only on us and the processes and machines and work that and structures that we work on, but also on these other entities. And so in the Indigenous culture, those are, instead of terming those energy, it's termed spirits. And so animals have spirits. Mother Earth has a spirit. Water has a spirit. And how do we respect those spirits? And how do we consider those in our decision making in order to ensure that any decision we have, we thoroughly think through the possible impact, not only right now and immediately, but far into the future. And so the idea of biodiversity, interconnectedness, all of that is extremely important to me. And as an engineer who has grown up in a world of safety culture and risk assessment, it's an important part to be considered when making any decisions or starting any projects. It's been my pleasure to talk with you for Science Literacy Week, and I wish you all the best, and I hope you have happy reading, and I hope to chat with you again. Take care. Have a wonderful day.